Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. I am joined by Clint Leakwood, and this is the Weekend Tournament European. At the bottom here, we have Captain Morgan playing as a supply specialist, and he's up against Dorgon playing as a cost control specialist. All right, how do you feel about this game, Clint?
Lots of Stonecaller starts in this tournament so far, so that makes me think that maybe I'm missing out on something because I typically avoid that draft. But yeah, no, I'm excited. Dorgon recently beat me on ladder as of today. Very strong player. So is Captain Morgan. Um, but if you look at Morgan's position right now, we got a similar position to how Dzemp was setting up some stuff in games 1 and 2 early on in the tourney.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about cost control specialists? I kind of wax and wane on it.
I never play cost control at the tournament. I have beaten players who have played cost control. I have lost 2 games as cost control at tournament. I just feel like such a risky play. Like in order to play cost control, you have to be very aggressive early on. You have to get those devices, get those ability cards. It's just a very different play style because as the game drags on, if you don't have significant tempo past like round 5, you're at a disadvantage. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like whenever I'm playing cost control, I want to be teching into giants early and really trying to swing the board heavily in my favor.
Yeah, it's not an easy game to play. I haven't actually played cost control in a while. Instead, I've been playing Elite. I used to play a lot of cost control and avoiding Elite, but now it's the other way around because I actually find some success in Elite.
Yeah, Elite's especially strong right now because I feel like a lot of people are doing this like tempo aggro thing. And I think Elite is just incredibly strong on defense. So
This
makes
is
sense.
super annoying.
It's also super annoying, yeah. This shield on the left with the arc light crawler, such a strong little combo for a flank. Really puts in a lot of work sometimes.
Too bad it's running into Wasp though.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I like the Wasp play. Yeah, I like the Wasp play. This is what I call defending with tempo. So most of the time when you're low MMR, you see a problem. Let's say, hey, you got crawlers, you put on an arc light, right? You got fans, you put on a Mustang, but you're just defending a problem. You're not creating a problem for your opponent. Now, by defending, in this case, presumably a Phoenix problem, you're also presenting them with another set of problems because there's nothing on the other side of the board that can really deal with air except the Phoenixes. So I like that. It's good tempo. And it's just happened to also solve this flank problem. Very lucky.
Also, really smart move by Dorgon here with these mobile beacon crawlers. He's going to be pulling everything over to the left and also dodging a couple of those volleys early on, buying his army a lot of time. Really smart stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We were mentioning earlier about players, lower MMR players having a tough time with Stormcallers. That is a very strong response to dealing with Stormcallers. If they're positioned in the center like that, highly recommend trying out the mobile beacon. There is a world, though, where these wasps are still not good enough.
Mm-hmm. Very surprising. I think, well, on the bright side, he got the shield.
Yep, the shield is down. It makes that flank a little more manageable. Also missable. Kind of a big deal.
The worm got instant hit by Captain Morgan.
Windmill slam the worm. Yeah, how do you feel about the worm right now? It's a new unit. This isn't, I believe, the first tournament, but second tournament since it's been out, but first tournament since the big buffs.
Yeah, it's still very strong. It's still very disruptive. I think players, I mean, they kind of figure out how to deal with it now, but there's still a lot of nuances surrounding the worm. Like I can see here with the Wasp Worm setup, there might be a tendency of going with another squad of Wasp, possibly with ground spec. So it could be very strong. 100 ground specs right now. Right? It is the meta, so a lot of players are going with this. I don't know if Mustang is the great choice here. I think if you see the Worm and if you see boats in the same unit drop, you pick one or the other, right? Mustang is when you don't have a Worm in the game. A Worm is actually very strong against Mustangs, especially with Sandstorm. Mustangs just don't do enough damage against the Worm.
Yeah, something that really tickled my brain recently. I was hanging out in one of the streamers' chats. I think it was PB, but it's neither here nor there. But Saka was mentioning that he thinks Sandstorm is like a really strong answer for carry Stangs with items like advanced firepower control and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
So it makes sense in my head. We also have the recent armor buff, which is massive. I think it went from what 35 to 50%, something like that on max HP. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I think this turn the Worm is going to take it unless the Phoenix is really putting in the work. It does have Nano already, so a great combination. The problem with Worm Wasp is that the moment the Worm goes under, all the Wasp dies.
All the Wasps fall over.
Yeah. That's why we add the Wraith in between, so that when the Worm goes under, the Wraith dies, and then the Wasp can still deal the damage in the end.
Nice. Morgan regaining some tempo. Cracking him pretty good, honestly. That's a really solid hit on round 3.
So what would you do against the Worm?
So my typical response for a while, right, was fortresses, because fortresses could 1v1, but that is no longer the case. For me at the moment, it's like I want chaff, so I want like delayed fangs and crawlers up in there, and then something like a melting point. But like against this many wasps, it's difficult. I'm a little unsure on this board state. I mean, like Fort AA feels like the strongest answer, and that's what looks like Dorgon's going for. But what about you? Do you think the melting point has more merit? Do you think the fortress has more merit?
I personally agree with you with the fort. I don't think melting point is reliable. I think it depends, right? Starting at round 6 and onward, when there's a lot of chaff on the board to keep the Worm busy and above ground, a melting point might work. But at this round, when there's, 2 crawlers that's coming at this Worm, melting point is going to lose focus. And it takes 5 seconds for melting point to charge up to its maximum damage. So every time it goes under, that's another 5-second reset.
Interesting.
Right now, I think Captain Morgan is just going with textbook Worm Wasp here, right? 4 spots of Worm Wasp, so 2 per Worm. He's going to have another Worm on the other side. But I worry because of this level 3 Mustang. It's going to kill every single Wasp in that 2 seconds when the Worm is under. Like every single one of the Wasps. And the Wasps aren't great for chaff gear. I mean, they're okay, but they're not great.
Yeah, that's true. The reality, right, is that most of the chaff clear going on right now is being done by the Arclights.
Yeah. See, if I were Captain Morgan, I'd probably want to take high explosive ammo with the Stormcallers next turn.
Interesting. I think he sold out of one of the pairs, so he only has one on the board right now.
I think that one got burnt. No, he sold them. Okay, not here the Wasp, so he can complete the meta.
Okay. There's the other Worm, like you were mentioning.
There's the Sandstorm.
Nice.
Textbook meta.
Yeah. Do we see Degen as well this turn, or do we wait?
Range probably might be my first guess, just so that they survive a little longer.
Okay, that makes sense.
He does not run armor on the Wraith. I started running armor on the Wraith precisely for this meta. So you run armor, which prevents these Mustangs from ever getting levels.
Yes.
And that's important because they're so deadly.
Well, and like Wraiths already have a huge HP pool, right? So armor just really takes it to the moon.
Got range on the Wasp. I think that's a good call.
Fort AA out on the board too. I mean, this is looking like pretty textbook from both sides, honestly.
Pretty textbook, yeah. Yeah. So if you're wondering how to play War Wraith Wasp and how to play against it, this is the game to watch.
Absolutely. Okay, so
yeah, Wraith's
Wraith's
getting picked up
immediately dead.
too quickly. Yeah, way too quickly. But on the bright side, the Mustangs are getting destroyed by this worm here.
Yeah, and actually, those wasps were doing a little bit of work there,
volley.
but that volley was disgusting.
Whew. Yeah, needed some additional damage against this fort, though. A melting point might be a good option at this point. It's good against the fort, also good against the race.
Yeah, and the reality, Brett, is like melting points are a bit of a sniper unit, so you can hang back a bit. You can click range, let the units walk through that sandstorm while the melting point kind of picks them off.
Yeah.
Intensive training, though. Is he going on the worm? Is he going to go straight up to a level 3 worm?
He could. He could. I mean, the worm, their job is usually just to tank and chaff here. And also to tide up these Mustangs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Well, how would I play this? Because right now, okay, yes, they got a fort problem. The reason they got a fort problem because the Wraith died too quickly. If the Wraith survive a bit longer, the fort will have to shoot this at the Wraith, therefore wasting a bunch of volleys.
Oh, yeah.
The Wraith die because there's nothing in front of them. So, and the worm does not pop up before the Wraith. The Wraith is literally the first unit that gets locked on by all of his units right here, like the very first unit. So if I were him, I'd probably put like Fangs right up here. And I'd have crawlers running alongside the Wraith. And then put Degen being on them. Because as soon as the Sandworm gets in range and pops his head and pull all the Mustangs in with Sandstorm, these Wraith are safe, right? But until then, these Wraiths are so dead. And once they're dead, forts, the missile kills everything else. So that's my rationale. Instead of going Melter, which is sort of the easy way out, you can get a little sophisticated, right? Fans here. And then next turn, maybe have crawlers running alongside. That's why I said range at the very first tech for Wraith might be good, because at the very least, it saves them for... keeps them living for a bit longer. And they can take a lot of missiles. Just not from these fans, though. Not fans, the Mustangs. Look at it. It's like one dead, the other one's already
just
dead.
Popped instantly.
Just popped instantly.
There's EMP. Who has EMP? What?
It's not... it's Degen.
Oh, it's Degen Beam. That's right. Yeah, no, Degen Beam isn't matched here. I think that just might maybe GG, maybe not. Okay, no, the worms are actually doing a lot of work.
Yeah, because he bought 2 extra worms, so they're doing the extra tanking, which is great.
Nice tower timing too.
Yeah, not GG, but I think he needs to solve that problem with the level 3 Mustang, which is now going to be level 4. The later he's going to solve that problem, the more difficult it's going to be. So it's still level 3, almost level 4. Yeah.
Yeah, luckily for Captain Morgan here, or perhaps unluckily for Dorgon, we haven't seen any items that really suit up on those things. So, you know, if like the game looks a lot different if there's like advanced firepower control system or amp core or any number of things. But yeah, he's matching the number of worms with the same number of fortresses, but it looks like Morgan's added in an additional worm. And he's now matched Degen Beam. Very cool.
Matching Degen Beam, but it doesn't mean anything because these 2 Wraith don't live long enough to actually have Degen Beam applied. So, yeah, like you can't just get Degen Beam and not put anything in front of the Wraith. Like, this is a waste of money. We're going to have a chat with Captain Morgan after this, you know.
Mm-hmm. It looks like both players have loaned at this point. Makes sense. Round 7 is about the time where you typically want to start doing that. Usually the way I kind of operate is round 8 passed, I'm always loaning, always temp ranging. And then round 6 is when I usually start considering it. Do you have any good rules of thumbs like that?
That's generally what I do as well. I mean, occasionally I might loan if I see a huge opportunity, for example, like Raid is usually the unit I loan my money on. So if I see a lot of chaff or a lot of even Mustangs and I just really need that range on my Raid because that's going to swing the battle, I'll loan, I'll get that tempo, and then I'll just chop up. Another good rule of thumb to loaning is that if you're putting down giants this turn and you don't have enough, loan that turn because you know that the very next turn you're going to put down chaff, and that's okay. You don't need that much money.
Yeah.
All right, looks like that's
yeah,
it's game. Which is very unfortunate. I really felt like the meta has a chance here. I think the fact that this problem with the raid has been ignored for like 4 rounds straight is just not good. This raid could have done so much more with the chaff clear, except they weren't. So
yeah, it really feels like Morgan maybe had some positioning issues here, but also like this little flank in the bottom left really was annoying, right? This worm on the left side was super late, and it pulled this whole group of these level 3 wasps over. That's a lot of DPS off the board. So
for sure. All right. Well, I hope we enjoyed this game, and I'll see you on the next one.